This is episode number 263 of the Middle Country Public Library podcast. You know, Sarah, it's been forever since we've done a movie chat.
It certainly feels that way.
Yes, our last movie chat actually was in October.
Right, and that was like part 2 of a movie chat that was like...
Oh, no, yeah, I'm sorry. We did, our last official movie chat was in October. It was Hocus Pocus.
Oh, yeah.
And then we did, in November, or December, we did the last 3 movies of Star Wars. We had Nicole watch them.
Yeah.
And then she went off and had a baby.
Yeah.
And now we've been not doing any movie chats.
Correct.
But
yeah,
we said we should do a movie chat.
Yeah.
And we should bring someone in who happens to be my desk mate, I guess, because in our pods, not podcasts, but pods, my desk mate who sits behind me. So we sit next to each other.
And he sits in front of me.
And he sits in front of you. He is a gigantic movie fan, and he goes to movies all the time. Like, he's constantly at the movie theater.
All the time.
So
even when he's supposed to be at work.
Yes, so I'd like to welcome Dennis.
Just kidding.
Dennis. Hello, Dennis.
Hello.
Dennis, how many movies do you go? We were talking about this the other day. How many movies do you go to in a month, approximately?
Probably 3.
Probably 3. Like almost once a week.
Almost once a week.
But in the movie theater, that's a lot.
Yes. So he's a movie theater goer. You were formerly a member of that Movie Pass Club, too.
And he shut it down for...
Yeah, he was the one who shut it down.
Yeah, exactly.
And I did the cinema also.
That's right. You did that.
After Movie Pass failed.
Yeah, he kept going.
Yeah.
But I put that one out of business too.
Yeah.
And Dennis, you also go to, this is something, I think he might be the only one who we work with who goes to premieres. You go to like the first night, like the
That's
midnight.
not true.
The midnight. Do you go to midnight premieres?
Me and Nicole, and our respectives go to all the Marvel ones.
Well, you don't count.
Oh, thank you.
But Dennis.
Oh, jeez.
Wow, you definitely don't count.
I know.
No, I'm just kidding. But Dennis, you do that as well.
Yes, I
that
do.
as well. So we thought, Sarah, it would be cool to bring Dennis in to do a movie chat.
Yes.
And we asked you to pick the movie.
Yes,
So,
I did.
So why don't you let our listeners know what the movie is this week?
Okay, all right. So, I mean, if you guys haven't guessed, I like sort of artsy, sci-fi, fantasy.
It's true.
I like the thinking man movies.
Okay. Yes, you did pick Men, right? I mean, that was yours.
Yes, and it's still very good. And Dennis refuses to watch it because, whatever. I like to think Dennis is the everyman's moviegoer.
Yes, no, he's seen some. He just saw 80 for Brady. This guy over
Yeah,
there.
that's a very typical.
Not for him though. Well, he's expanding his. You're expanding your reach and your movie type. Yeah,
I totally am. I'm going to see Titanic tonight.
Oh,
he's going to see Titanic.
Well, that's not. No, you're very. You're not like a movie snob, is what I'm saying. You're not into art house. You're not. You're like you're open to it, but you're not like I can't see Titanic because that's poop.
Hey, a movie's a movie.
Yeah. See, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so I picked 3,000 Years of Longing. It's rated R. It came out in 2022. It's shy of 2 hours by 15 minutes. It's directed by George Miller. Did I say that?
George Miller, yeah, he's done some big flicks.
Yeah. So if you don't know, he did Mad Max, the original. Okay. So while attending a conference in Istanbul, Dr. Alethea Binney happens to encounter a jinn who offers her 3 wishes in exchange for his freedom. This presents 2 problems. First, she doubts that he's real. And second, because she's a scholar of story and mythology, she knows all the cautionary tales of wishes gone wrong. The jinn pleads his case by telling her fantastical stories of his past. Eventually, she's beguiled and makes a wish that surprises them both.
So a jinn is a genie. For those listeners who don't know, is a genie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I had to look that up.
Right? I mean, I thought that was his name, but evidently that's...
Yeah. Idris Elba plays the jinn.
Yes.
And Tilda Swinton plays Dr. Alethea.
Yes.
That's probably...
And she's a narratress? No, what is her title? She's
you mean in the movie or
in the movie?
Her occupation?
No, in the movie.
Well, she narrates it.
Yes, but she studies stories.
Yeah, which I was like, well, she's like a folklorist or whatever.
Yes.
So that's the movie.
Okay. So you should let's mention. Obviously, we're going to talk about spoilers. So if you want to see the movie, you should pause and take the movie out from the library. It's available in different formats, Blu-ray and DVD, and then come back and listen because we are going to spoil some parts of this film as we discuss it.
Yes.
So did you want to just say that? I mean, the majority of the story takes place, like the main characters are actually in a hotel room.
Yes.
And when the djinn is telling the story, that's when we kind of go out of the hotel room and these fantastical stories are presented in their way.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. CGI'd way. Did you want to tell us some of the stories that he explains?
Sure.
Well, he's been in the bottle for, what was his longest stretch? 2,500 years.
Well, 3,000 years total.
Yes.
So he's been imprisoned in his bottle 3 times. And each time he explains how he came to be in prison because she wants to know, right?
Yes.
So they're having conversations.
She does not trust him.
Yeah. Well, they're known to be tricksters, these djinns, and but not him.
Oh no, he's wonderful.
Yes. So the first time he falls in love with the Queen of Sheba.
And you get that story.
Yes.
Right? It's done very, very cinematically, right? You get that story.
The second time, it's a ill-fated love story about a concubine, and if you don't get all your wishes, the poor djinn just sort of like he turned invisible and sort of just faded into nothing or whatever.
So she had two wishes. The last wish, which he said, they're coming to get you, they're coming to kill you. Mm-hmm. You should wish yourself free and safe, but she did not want to do it. She did not wish at the end. Obviously, they took care of her, and he got stuck.
Yes,
and he was invisible.
Yes,
for many, 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 many years.
Third time
it was the inventress.
Sal, would you like to explain that?
No, I'm letting you explain it.
Yeah. So the third time, this girl finds she is also not a concubine, but she is the third wife of a much older man, and she's very unhappy, and she's quizzical and intelligent and everything, and she finds him, and some of her wishes are that she wants knowledge, and in the process they fall in love.
They do fall in love, yeah.
And she started to feel, I don't know if it was because she was so smart. And also, she had to deal with this like third wife business that she felt she started to feel trapped by their love or whatever.
It's a typical story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in order to sort of placate her unhappiness, the djinn says, "I'll put myself away. And I'll come back out when you're calmed down. Or
when you're ready, yes."
And so this happened a few times. And then it happened to be very bad timing that her last wish, while he was going into the bottle, was, I wish that I forget you. So he's in the bottle, she forgets him, and now he's stuck. And then
many, many years later,
many, many moons later, our Dr. Alethea finds him in his bottle in a Turkish
tchotchke shop, like a souvenir shop.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she was like, "Oh, I like it because it's, it was a little worn, had some little fire damage." She's like, "Oh, I am
And of course, she had to clean it in her sink.
Well, I was like, weren't you guys like, ew, that's her toothbrush
with her
toothbrush?
Yeah.
And of course, when you rub a genie's lamp, the genie comes out.
Yeah, and that's what happened.
And he tells these stories that you just said to her in the hotel room, and he grants her 3 wishes.
Yes, but they have to be heartfelt, true desire. Not just, she tried to be like, all right, I'm going to drink it. I wish to drink some tea. And she drinks some tea. Yeah. I wish to have a, whatever. And he's like, no, that's not how it works.
So we'll just kind of wrap this up before we talk about what we thought about the movie. During this process of him telling this story, she kind of falls for him. Kind of. She's a loner, right? She's a solitary figure. She says, well, you're a solitary figure too. Let's be solitary together.
Yeah, I feel like she could have found a human to be solitary with.
True.
But she is a loner, and so what she does is she had a very sad story of she got married, something happened with the baby.
She lost a baby. Yeah.
Yeah. Then she got divorced, and she packs up her marriage in a tiny little box and labels it the ex-husband's name and puts it on a shelf, and then and it's like, oh.
Yes.
But that's that. Like, that's the kind of mentality that she has.
Yes.
Like, okay, well, that's done with.
And then she wishes for her to give love to the genie and the genie to give love to her, right? Is that basically how I understood it? They make some sort of genie love, human love, which is not really. It's kind of like a weird scene where they just entwined with each other and is space and dust and whatnot. And then she brings him back to London.
Yes.
And the story goes on from there. Mm-hmm. And before we get into the end of the story, let's see what Dennis thought.
It was definitely an interesting movie. It wasn't horrible, but it was good the way they kind of told the difference of it, because they concentrated more on the genie than the rest of the movies that I've seen. It's always about the wishes and what happens. And then, of course, they mess up and the genie has to fix it.
Yeah.
And this one actually I thought it was a good movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Very good.
I didn't think it was bad. There was
I have a feeling Sal didn't like it so much.
No, we'll keep going.
There were certain parts that were kind of sketchy, like the beginning part when she's going through the airport and she sees the figure.
Yeah, what was that about?
I still don't know.
Okay, so my question is like I said, like she must have a brain tumor and she's hallucinating.
Something.
Because she also fainted during her her speech.
It always goes to it.
But that was
Sarah
after she kept seeing the figure.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, is she?
Yeah, we're gonna find out at the end. She's in the hospital, and this is her last.
Well, that's what I was like, almost like, well,
I was kind of waiting for something like that.
yeah, right.
Because after she saw the Egyptian lord or whatever, and he kept moving all the rows, and she passes out. And I'm like, where's this going?
Yeah.
And then never led into anything.
Yeah.
It didn't. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I was wondering where they were going with that part of it.
Yeah.
Well, no, he led someone to find his bustle, in the second story, but he was invisible.
Yes.
Because I was like, oh, maybe he's like trying to manipulate her into finding him or something, like,
Well,
but he couldn't because he was in the bottle.
He was in the bottle, yes.
So I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was a ding ding.
the story alludes to this. I thought
Okay,
that
let's hear it.
she is somehow.
You think she's a part Jin?
I think she's part Jin.
We didn't see her shaving her legs.
No, but watch the movie for that. No, but at the beginning of the movie, when she's on the plane to Istanbul, she's reading very fast and she's shaking her leg. Just like that, the third woman, the inventor woman who was interested in knowledge, after she got the gift from the genie of being able to gather all this knowledge and know it all, she was reading really fast and shaking her leg. Did you notice that?
No.
And
But,
Neither did I.
but I feel like, he's attracted to, I think it's the parallel that she is also very knowledgeable and
Yes.
seeks knowledge, and he likes that.
Yes.
And he was seeking knowledge the whole time by going to see the operation, and on his off time, he was going and checking out all that
so when
stuff.
he gets back to London, she goes back to work, and what's he going to do? He doesn't have a job or anything like that. He's got money, he's wealthy in power. So he goes, like you say, he sees surgeries, and he goes to see one of the like a collider or something like that. He goes like some physics experiment.
Yep.
He sits out in the field and he sees the big dish that's listening to stars and stuff like that. And he's just he loves thinking about the human race and what they've done. But we didn't mention this before. While he is in London, we find out that the genie is electromagnetic. Right?
Yeah.
We find this out, that a genie is electromagnetic. Starts with electromagnetic waves, and that's how they start. And the problem is now that he's in London, he's in the middle of the city, there's a lot of television and radio and all these frequencies and Wi-Fi and everything like that. And it's basically killing him.
What year is this supposed to take place? Current.
I think now.
I thought it
No,
was
it's
current.
definitely now.
Yeah.
It's definitely now because people are wearing masks. She's wearing a mask when she's on the subway.
Yeah,
She takes the
because
mask
I'm
off.
sorry. I feel like Istanbul is just as modern.
Yes, but perhaps he's shielded and sheltered by something about the city. That's what I'm thinking.
That's the one thing I thought. I'm like, well, think that's very, I don't know.
Look, Sarah, it's not Constantinople anymore, but it is Istanbul.
But I don't know. That's one of the things I also thought about. I was like, well, why wasn't he? But then, remember when he said something about like when I was born or something, and she was like, "Jinns aren't born" or whatever. Remember when he was like, I'm like, maybe he's not a jinn and he's something else.
No, I think the being born part, because remember she makes that chart, electromagnetic, and then she says it goes from there to this to the corporal body. She talks about it, doesn't she, in her little book that she's writing? She
at the end.
At the end, yeah, she explains how jinns are born.
Oh, I don't know.
Born from the universe, but yeah. So you liked it, Dennis?
I did. It wasn't bad.
Because I tell you, while I was watching it, I'm like, I was saying to myself, I think Dennis will like this part. Like Dennis is going to dig this because this, I know the movies that Dennis likes and this likes it, and I figured you would also like Idris Elba and his big muscles.
Well, he looked weird with those ears. I was not a fan of those ears, I will say. I was like, but then I was like, is he really that tall when they were standing side by side?
I think he is.
I think he is.
Yeah,
I was like, because Tilda Swinton is tall. She's not.
Yeah, but she's, interestingly enough, a little Marvel connect. Dennis is a huge Marvel fan. Did you get the Marvel connection there? You had the two Marvel characters doing a movie together?
Yes, I did.
Yes, because Idris Elba is what's his character in?
What's the Loki's
Thor?
Friend, right? No,
Thor's
friend.
Thor's friend. He's Hemdell, or
I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Yeah, he's the guardian, or was the guardian of the bridge.
Yes,
right?
he was guardian of the bridge.
And Tilda Swinton was the
ancient one.
The ancient one.
Yeah.
Yes. So interesting. So
Oh.
and I have to admit, that's the only third movie I've seen her in.
Really?
Yeah, even though she's been in like 95. I was
You never saw Constantine with Keanu Reeves?
No, never saw that.
You should see that. You'd like it. It's
I'll
good.
have to take a look at it.
So what else, Dennis?
Yeah. What are your notes?
What are your notes?
I
You
don't really have
there.
notes. So just want to look professional, come in with a notebook.
Oh, okay. Well, what did your wife think?
My wife liked it too, but she had questions on the airport scene also about the person with pushing the carriage.
Yeah, that was weird.
We couldn't quite figure out how that tied into the movie,
Yeah,
so we both agreed on that part of it.
Yeah.
But as far as once that got done and the movie got going, it was a pretty decent movie.
Yeah.
Could have been cut a little short.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of felt long.
Yeah.
Sarah, what'd you think of the film?
I was surprised that George Miller directed it, to be honest with you. I didn't know that until I saw the credits, and I was like, oh, I liked it. I was excited when I first, because I help order DVDs here. And so when it came on my radar, I didn't hear of it before. And then, so I was like, oh, it's not very popular. But then I was like, well, I like all these people that are in it. And I like the subject, and I know that they kind of are in very movies that I like. What other movies did you see Tilda Swinton in besides?
Just the Doctor Strange and
Only Doctor
And
Strange.
Endgame, that's right. She was in Endgame
Yes,
too. Yeah.
that's it.
Okay.
Only Marvel movies.
Okay.
There was another one that I kind of remember in, but I don't
Oh, well, I
remember her in it.
I like her her resume or whatever. So I was like very excited because I was like, what can it be? It's gonna be weird. I know this, and
But she played it pretty normal. She does play like characters that are kind of out there, obviously, in her resume.
well, she always plays eccentric
True.
characters.
Yeah.
Not necessarily out there, but they're always kind of offbeat. So I knew it was going to be an offbeat type of thing, but I wasn't quite sure. And to be honest with you, it was more of a love story than I thought. Because if you notice when, like, you guys saw the DVD, so I saw the subjects, and it was like romance, and I was like romance drama, and I'm like romance drama. I thought it'd be more fantastical, more like fantasy. Like that's what I was going in. I'm like, maybe it'll be a little weird, like Guillermo del Toro or something.
Yeah.
But it was a romance.
Yeah, it was a romance, and it was straightforward almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely had. It's funny. It had more cute, funny moments than I thought it was going to have.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it just comes up as drama romance. There was no like comedy in there, but there were a couple of funny moments that I thought they were kind of tongue in cheek.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I saw it, but I don't know if I would see it again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you, this was the first movie that I've seen
with nudity.
No, Sarah, why are you so mean to me? Okay, Okay, if you want to bring it up, though, the sex scenes were very tasteful, I thought. It was a soft R. I don't think it was like a hard R in the sexual.
Yeah.
I think they were part of the story. They weren't like gratuitous, and it was,
Yeah.
you know, the way. And there is a little hanky panky going on in here, but it's part of the story.
Yeah.
That being said, this was the first film that I enjoyed the first and the second act, and it fell apart for me at the end, and I got disappointed.
Why?
I really enjoyed the storytelling. I thought it was very well done. I enjoyed the build up to the stories. I enjoyed the introduction of the jinn. I enjoyed all that. And I felt like it kind of lost for me, it kind of lost steam after they got to London. Like it just kind of like slowed down really too much for me. Like the gas was taken off the pedal too much. I think there was something missing from that part of it. Because it was only like another 25 minutes, like another half hour.
Yeah.
When they got to London of the movie.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it kind of, for me, it kind of ran out of steam for me.
Where do you think he goes when he goes to replenish?
See, I don't know.
To Istanbul. And you think if they were like each other's loves,
yes.
wouldn't she move?
So let's mention the end here. So she comes home one day from work.
Yeah.
Okay. And she's looking for him. She's like, I'm home. Literally, is kind of like that thing.
Yeah.
And he's down in the basement, and leading up to this scene, while the two of them are talking about things, there is a very conspicuous dust in the air. You can see like this dust in the air. And it's because he's basically turning to dust. So in this last scene where she comes to find him, he's basically turned to dust, and it's almost like he's dead. So she uses her second wish to bring him back to life, right? So
which was ironic that he was dying that fast, because all of a sudden he was turning to dust.
Yeah,
exactly.
And there was nothing of that.
Yes, exactly. He didn't like have, got a little rash. Or she's like, oh, you got some dandruff up here, but you don't have any hair. It's kind of weird, right?
And even but that was all the London part, because even when we went to London, I was questioning, can people see him, not see him?
Yes.
And then when he went out on the back deck, the two neighbors didn't see him. And then all of a sudden, when she went back to the door, he was seen. So I was questioning if he was able to be seen by people.
No, he was able to be seen by people, because he had to always wear the hoodie, or else they would see his ears. He's got like...
But that scene blew it because he was standing outside without it on.
No.
And
I know. That's why. That's what I'm saying, Dennis. That's what I'm saying. I feel like this last third of the movie was kind of like mishmashy.
Yeah, because he did start fading away without any indications throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
So she brings him back to life, and he's like, oh, no, I'm fine. He's like doing that thing. He's like, no, it's okay. I'm going to be all right. Let's go for a picnic. Let's go. She's like, no, you have to take care of yourself. And she loves him so much that for her final wish, she sets him free.
Which is what he wanted all along.
Which is what he wanted all along, yes. Very Aladdin-like.
Yes.
This is like an adult Aladdin, this movie. But from a different angle, like you said, from the Dennis, you said the genie angle, but it's definitely, because at the end he is freed. And then he comes back, because you're mentioning, where does he go? So he leaves. 3 years later, you see her, she's writing her book about the genie and the love and the relationship she has. And she's walking in the park, and he just kind of shows up, and he's like, hey, how you doing? And they get together, and there's a cute little thing with a soccer ball at the end, which I thought was kind of out of place, because it was like this really funny kind of thing that happened at the very end.
Yeah, I giggled.
Yep. I giggled too. I thought it was funny. I thought it was great. And see, this is the thing. He does this cute little thing with a soccer ball rolls over by him. He pushes it up. He kicks it back. It does like some crazy thing, and it gets back to the kid, and then he gives like a thumbs up, and it's a funny thing. And I'm like, where was this the rest of the London part? Because you have a genie in London, and they're really not doing anything with the genie in London. He's just kind of like hanging out and got very subdued and very.
She trapped him. I mean, her wish was.
That's. I'm glad you brought that up, because I thought he was her prisoner. Really, he was still a prisoner. And at the end, he decides that even though he's free, he still loves her, and he comes back, because he does evidently come back. And she mentions he comes back for a little time. Sometimes he stays longer than I want him to, because he starts to get sick, but then he goes and he comes back. Mm-hmm. That's basically how the movie ends. The movie ends opened where, you figure they're together, but not always together. So they have that longing in between. But I just felt like the story just kind of fell apart, and it was the first time that I was really disappointed, because I liked it all the way up to that point, and I was really excited about what they were going to do when now, I didn't want it to be like a screwball comedy where he's like, making things show up and, moving things out of the way and, making her move up in line at the McDonald's or something. I didn't want any of that, but I wanted more and I didn't get it. So that was my disappointing part of it. But up until that point, I loved the movie. I did. I loved the movie. I thought it was great.
I mean, to be fair, he is a jinn, and that was like the good part of the story was him.
Yes.
And the story's going to be good because he's a genie.
Yes.
And she says, I'm boring. Like, so when it focused on her, it was boring.
True. I don't know if that was on purpose, though.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
I was expecting him to change her and have her start going outside of her box and doing things.
Yes, exactly.
But nothing happened. And you're right. He did disappear and comes back every once in a while.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
to be honest with you, I thought the surprise, because they sort of made it seem like in the description, and a surprise ending or a surprise whatever twist or whatever. I thought she was gonna wish to be a djinn herself.
Yeah. So they could stay together or wherever.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I'm gonna.
Or the twist would have been then all of a sudden she gets sucked into a bottle. and now they're
she's
both
the djinn.
Now she's the djinn and he's
the human.
Yeah, something where it was like different. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it was. I feel like they had this great idea for a story, and
it's based on a short story.
Based on a short story. Okay, so they had this great idea, they nailed it, and then they said, "We need an extra half hour. Or how are we going to finish this up?" And that's when it kind of fell apart for me. That's just how I saw it. But up to that point, I thought the movie was great. I thought the acting was spectacular. I think Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba were phenomenal.
He was good. The thing is, though, it was a romance, and it had a romantic ending. I wasn't like a huge fan of the ending, but I don't like romance movies really too much,
Yeah.
So I thought it was just because I don't like romance movies. I mean, like I didn't dislike the ending, but like you said, it was sort of like anticlimactic.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, these wonderful stories, and then it was just like,
I mean, their story.
Well, that's what it was. Is that he had all these romantic stories, and then hers was, okay, I'm going on my way.
Yeah, it was just like,
I'll see you in 3 years.
Yeah, or let's have some soup and sit and talk and.
Yeah, well, which maybe might be the point that you love someone and you let them go and they come back to you, sort of, that.
Or
saying.
Or leading up to the marriage, it's all these wonderful things and all this magic, and then you get married, and 3 years later, you're looking at the other person going, "What are we doing tonight?"
Oh, all right, Sal.
You want pizza? Yeah, all right, we'll get pizza. All right, so Dennis, we do a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being great, 0 being 0, obviously not so great. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give 3,000 Years of Longing?
I give it an 8.
Nice. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one to sit there and say you watched it. I don't think I'd watch it again.
Yeah.
I also probably would never picked it out to watch it either.
That was my point. You're lucky I didn't make you watch Men again.
I didn't watch the first time. So.
I know. Well, for us, it would be again. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But I was thinking that for a movie to watch, it wasn't bad. It was definitely an 8.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it was definitely, I thought, deceiving because it definitely was more of a tame fantasy type of movie, and it was romantic. Curve to it.
Yeah.
That I was a lot more tame than I thought. Like I really thought it was going to be more action packed. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was a little like, I don't know. For me personally, I was a little, I don't want to say disappointed, but I was a little.
Your expectations were not met.
Yeah. It was just like it wasn't. It was a different story behind the book cover for me.
Yeah.
But I'll probably give it a 7, just because I had higher expectations for it. But it was good. It was good.
Okay.
But not as good as I thought.
Well, it was oversold in the description.
Well, it was a romance, and it was a romance.
So I would give Act 1 and Act 2 an 8.
Oy.
Ooh.
But I give Act 3 a 5.
Ooh.
So whatever the difference is, it's a 7, I guess, a 6.5, a 7.
Yeah,
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
I think it's worth watching. I definitely think it's worth watching. I think if my wife had asked me, would you see this again with me? I would. I'd sit down and I'd watch it again. Because after watching the film, I went to my 2 guys that I watch on YouTube.
Yeah, what did they say?
The 2 guys.
Got good reviews.
They both liked it.
Yeah.
But the one guy actually said, this is not a movie for someone who who just wants to go in and like eat the popcorn and get to watch it and be entertained. This is like you said, a thinking man's movie, a thinking person's movie. And supposedly there are things in the scenes, in the sets of this film that set up the story and do something with the story. And I did not get some of those. So I might someday watch it again. But there's supposedly, like in her apartment, the way her apartment is set up, the way there's things in her apartment, stuff like that. There's things that are.
Well, did you notice that, like in the kitchen, there was like artwork, and I'm like, is that Idris Elba's eyeball? Like, did you notice that there was like a picture, and it was like of a person's eye?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like, is that...
Supposedly,
there was some weird artwork around.
Yes,
but she was also a collector into mystical creatures and everything.
Was.
So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so a collector. See, she collected a mystical creature, all right.
Yeah, so
I might watch. I do think it's worth watching, and if you are listening and you're into this type of film, which is a fantasy romance, as you mentioned, Sarah, I would take it out and I'd watch it. So I would recommend it, with the caveat that if you're expecting this amazing wrap up of the film in the last 30 minutes, to lower your expectations.
Well, that's where the romance comes in.
Yeah, it's a much more quieter.
It's a continuous build movie.
Yeah.
It was a continuous build. It's almost like a man called Otto. It was the same kind of build.
Did you cry?
I didn't cry, but
I heard everybody cries in that movie.
No, I didn't cry, but it was actually the same kind of build on it.
Did you get a little misty-eyed though?
I did, of course.
Oh, okay.
I did. I didn't want to admit it, but you're frustrating me now.
But now we have it, yes.
But it was the same kind of build to it, where they told the story, and the storytelling was kind of going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So. And did you notice there was a little nod to Marvel and I think maybe DC when she's doing a presentation at the beginning in Istanbul about storytelling, and they do show on the screen, they show like all the Marvel characters, I think, and all the DC characters are behind her. Oh. It's kind of funny,
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Dennis, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Thanks for having me.
So I have one more question for you.
Uh-oh.
What is your favorite Marvel film?
Oh, it's Iron Man.
Iron Man. The original?
Yep. The original Iron Man.
I don't remember that.
That's very cool. Yeah, I like the Iron Man.
It was a big beginning of the build.
Which is the one with creepy buff
Thor?
Mickey Rourke. Creepy buff Mickey Rourke.
Oh, that's Iron Man 2.
It's 2.
That's Iron Man 2.
I remember that.
I liked that too.
That was weird.
So I think if I had to pick a character, I like Iron Man the best.
Yeah.
That's why I was very upset, spoiler alert, that they had to kill off Tony Stark, and I hope somehow they bring him back.
He is coming back,
Good.
supposedly. Rumor has it.
With him?
No, there's the new story supposedly at the end of the Endgame where he does his magical appearing.
Yeah.
His daughter, and then a TV show, he's coming back as that. Supposedly, that's what I read somewhere.
Oh, it's like a hologram.
As a hologram.
Like a sentient hologram.
Yes.
So he's going to be the new Jarvis kind of character.
Seems like it.
Okay, that would be great.
That's where I read somewhere. I don't know how true it is.
With
supposedly his daughter's getting
Robert
a TV
Downey
show.
Jr.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is going to be the character.
Wait, his daughter's getting a TV show?
Yeah, it's going to be another TV show.
Because she in the comics takes over for him, doesn't she?
Oh, Robert Downey Jr. is not going to do a TV show.
Yeah, he will. Of course.
He's just going to do the AI. He's going to be the hologram for it.
I don't know.
Look who's doing TV shows now. You got Harrison Ford doing TV shows.
Yeah, but he's going to be on Disney.
Yeah, so, hey, look. Yeah. You got to.
And he's been on Disney for how long?
That's where his bread is buttered.
Maybe, you're right, maybe.
You know.
I'm still waiting for them to bring the kid back from Iron Man 3.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I want to know what happened to him. He was at the funeral, and then they haven't done anything with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Who?
The kid
from Iron Man 3 that helped him. And the big
FiOS
FiOS commercial at the end when Tony Stark hooks him up, and everything was FiOS. And
yeah.
Oh.
There was a kid when he wound up getting...
he was in the barn, right? Or he was in like a barn or something like that, and then he calls for his thing, and it comes like... Yeah, maybe they have to do something with that character.
Yeah, I've been waiting. He was at the funeral.
Yeah, he was at the funeral. So, all right, that does it for this movie chat. If you want to listen to older movie chats or older episodes, visit our website, mcplpodcast.com. If you are listening on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Come on, let's do this. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers by the summer. How about that? We can do it.
A fluid end date.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So do that, and we'd greatly appreciate it. So for Sarah and Dennis, I'm Sal. We'll see you on the next show.